I so appreciate you coming on the podcast today. Can you just give a quick intro, who you are and what you do?
Sure. So my name is Brad Whitford. I'm a creative director at DDC Public Affairs.
So I know you started in a creative place and you used to paint.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Um, what kind of stuff were you painting at the beginning of all this?
Yes.
Where did what's your journey?
Sure. Let's do that. Let's see. So my mom was always super artistic. She was always painting growing up. I remember that. It got me kind of interested in it. I think through just school, through high school, and it exposed me more to it, where exploring things like charcoal or watercolor or pastel, and I loved it. I was somewhat good at it. I just, for whatever reason, could paint flowers really, really well. Bizarre, random thing, but I just could really, really crush a flower. I think my teachers saw that I had a specific skill in watercolor and just mixed media. I had a wonderful teacher who kind of created a class for me, basically one-on-one, my senior year of high school. My father, being a scientist, military guy, was like, well, you'll never put bread on the table just painting. So you have to do something to, combine it with technology or to kind of shore up your chances of being able to be financially stable. So come in and then like combine computers with art, and that's where we kind of landed with graphic design. I didn't really know. I never really had a huge calling, like, oh my god, this is it, I'm going to be a graphic designer. Like I just loved exploring. I loved it was a lot of the similar process of just being curious and just getting in the programs and trying things. And mixed media again was my love of art back in high school. So it's kind of the same practice. You're just doing it in a digital space. Then went into the agency world, and I went to Glover Park Group, and it was awesome. It was clients like NFL, Livestrong Foundation, Habitat for Humanity, Wildlife Fund. Like, it was just really like cool, large name identities that you've always heard of, and being able to work on their projects was just unbelievably stimulating. It was creatively exciting. The work was stuff you'd see about in the news and read about, and then the next day you're designing an infographic, to like go to the president to be read by him. Like, it was genuinely like exciting. Every day was awesome. So I got hooked in the agency world, and then an opportunity came up with DDC Public Affairs, and it was an opportunity where I had grown so much at Glover Park Group, and I kind of had done everything I wanted to do there. I wanted to try that next step where I could really kind of lead and run my own team. This was a great opportunity. I took it. I've been at DDC Public Affairs for about 5 years. It's an amazing place. They really are, this shop that understands that like business meets, people in politics, and like this combination of this everything kind of blending together. And that's where we really come in from a creative perspective and like help elevate a lot of those ideas. But fantastic people there. And yeah, I've been running the shop there for about 6 years. We've won 23 awards over the last 5 years, which is super exciting. It's a great group of people. Really wanted to elevate both the work that we were doing, but also remind our clients that we are like an award-winning shop, remind our internal teams that we're an award-winning shop. So it was 6 years of really just kind of reinvigorating the team and just really getting a lot of the work to be forward thinking creatively first, and really kind of elevating a lot of our client pieces. And so it's been an awesome experience, and certainly looking forward to what's next.
Well, it sounds like you're like a really creative person and you're always looking for new challenges. So is this job inherently just challenging all the time, or are you finding ways to stay curious and navigate day to day all the different tasks that you have?
Yeah. So where I always find like the personal, game within a game, if you will, is like, how can creative be leveraged in a way that can elevate a client's ask or goal, right? And I think it can be anything from, if we're doing a website for a pack and trying to solicit, do a solicitation campaign, like what can we do from a creative perspective to generate interest and generate people to sign on for that? If we're doing a campaign for maybe policy or regulation for banning of a certain product, right? Like, how can we go into that state or that market and using a creative, ads or solutions, come and share a different perspective to educate those people as to maybe why we shouldn't ban this product, or maybe why this is kind of an unfair rule. So it's not like inherently creative in the sense that's like, it's not an ad for like a Nike shoe or like a movie poster, but like you still have to think from a creative perspective as to like, all right, how am I going to communicate with that person? How am I going to make that person stop and read this? It's not inherently you think of this great, wonderful creative exercise where I'm splattering paint on a canvas, but it certainly is using creative decision making, whether it's the words we use, the images selected, the tone, all of that matters when it really comes to trying to, again, make someone become an advocate, make someone understand a policy issue better, or make someone write a letter to Congress. Like all that stuff really requires both the words that are being said, but also, how it's being delivered from a visual perspective. All of these little tiny micro moments add up, and they can really start to paint a picture as to like, okay, now I can see what's working. I can see what is being more resonant with the audiences we're trying to reach. I can see what is actually, making a difference, and then you just tweak accordingly. And so it's this constant feedback loop. I wouldn't call it easy, but it certainly is like there's a method to it and a madness to it. And I think it's just this really interesting experience where you go through and try to, again, using your design senses, create things that actually will connect with the audiences you're trying to reach, and then using the analytics to kind of back up some of your assumptions.
I want to talk a little bit about how you just kind of jumped into a manager role. So you were, I mean, in agency life, from what I can tell, you get that task and you work on the task, you get it off your desk. Did you have any learning curve just jumping from that, working hands on your own projects to jumping to a manager position?
Great question. So I'll back up to my time at Glover Park Group. I think what happened there was I was a good designer. I was a really fast designer. I think that is what's in my entire career. My biggest takeaway is like always knowing what your superpower is and just leaning into that heavy. Like mine was just speed. I could design things twice as fast as anyone. I was always able to kind of do more. And then slowly but surely, I was kind of adding on all these additional responsibilities. Maybe it would be reviewing someone's work, or maybe it would be writing a draft review for someone for their quarterly review. Maybe it was, helping out with proposals. And it slowly kind of built these additional skill sets where I was starting to lean into the manager part, but I wasn't quite all in. That was my team, my people. And that was kind of one of the reasons why I left. I liked it. And so I wanted to say like, all right, I think I can do this. Like, let's go for it and try. And then when I went to DDC Public Affairs, that's when it was officially like, all right, here you go. I think at the time I came in, there was, I think something like 5 full-time people and 7 freelancers all in the office. And it was absolutely a moment of kind of figuring out the landscape, understanding who has what skill sets, figuring out, where sensitivities were, or maybe what projects people were best at, or what things people did not want to do. I've seen managers that are way too hands-on. I've seen managers that absolutely were checked out. And so I think through my 20 years of working, like it was evident to me what I could see worked well. And then it was very evident of what things to avoid. And I think how I look at my managing style now is, can I take a blend of all the things that I saw being successful in others and kind of adopting that in my way? And so, I lead with an empathetic foot forward always. I think everyone has, their unique stories, their unique paths that they're going down. And like, you need to understand that and be empathetic to those people. And a lot of it was kind of figuring out on the fly. I had people that really had a lot of challenges when they had to work through them, and it was definitely not something you read in a book. It's not something you get taught by your previous manager. Like again, everyone is different, and just being able to listen and being able to understand what they're going through, or what they're trying to achieve, what's their goal, and really just trying to work with them to the best extent that you can to make that possible, while also being responsible to the company is ultimately what's led me to be successful.
We work with a lot of independent freelancers and a lot of people from the agency world. What would you say is that like one belief or tenet, or like something to take away if you're going to transfer into that kind of role?
I would probably say to be eyes wide open. I think, again, every agency is different. Every role is different. I know creative directors that touch zero work and all they do is write proposals all day. I know some creative directors that are 50-50, where they get to design as well as maybe do the managing side, proposals, schedules, budgets. I think, really being honest with yourself and trying to understand where your passions are and what you enjoy. Often people might take on responsibilities not being, full eyes wide open to what those responsibilities are, and maybe realize it's a mistake after the fact. I think I love designing. I live it, I breathe it, I eat it. I love design. So to me, it was important that I could still have hands on in some way. And so, where I am currently, I'm able to lead a team. I'm able to, offer design critique. I'm able to do new business work and proposals and all that while also designing. And that was something I was really clear about that I wanted up front, because I knew that if I were to step into a role where that was not, something that I could take on, I would kind of eventually just die a slow death with no creativity. So the fact that I can continue to design was hugely important to me. If you're just thinking about stepping into what that managing role would be like, it's just being humble and just being a listener to what that position needs, and not going in there with a firm foot saying like, I know what I'm going to do to this team. I'm going to change it. It's going to be this my way. Like, I've seen that happen. I've seen that story. It's just being a good listener, being open minded, being empathetic to others, still having a vision for what you want to do with your managing style and for how you want to run a team. Um, but just being, a little bit more slow to implementing those hard changes if they're needed, and just being a good listener to those around you would be like the biggest takeaway.
No, I love that. And also, yeah, I love the idea of like just because you're in a manager role, if you then give up all the hands-on, all the creativity stuff, then you could manage anything. You could manage like a bank team, but keeping the essence of what you care about in your day-to-day is sounds pretty crucial. At least it would be for me and a lot of other creatives.
Yeah, and it's not always possible. And like I get it. Like, the creative director, a friend of mine who does not have anything hands on. Like, he just does it on the side, or does it at night, or does it, personal projects, and that's fine. Like, you just have to find your creative outlet. If you're not going to get it in your professional full-time job, like, what are you going to do to just feed that creative part of your soul? And I think it's something that's hugely important for those who are visually creative individuals, is to always have an outlet, and being able to continue to pour yourself into it.
There's just so much out there now and like everything's so busy and everyone's trying to think, how do I stand out? How do I stand out? And it's literally to have like a point of view and a goal and let the viewers see like this is what I'm doing and this is why.
I think the point of view is huge. I think a mistake is when either an individual designer or a freelancer, or even young designers, they don't have a point of view. And I know that might be lack of confidence or just levels of experience. But I think the most interesting conversations, I think the most, learned moments are when you actually can hear another person's perspective on why they did something. And I think that's when you really can find some of the most interesting creatives out there that are really pushing the envelope in terms of what they're doing with AI, or what they're doing with audience journeys, or all the new kind of trends that people are exploring. I think it's when people share why they did certain things, or share the strategy behind it, is when those works become even more interesting.
And do you feel like that's a trend or is that something that's always been true but people like forget about? Like why is that? It just feels like a lesson that's always being taught.
The barrier to entry to creative is a lot easier now. I think there's so many tools out there that I think, the number of agencies that exist are so much more than there were maybe 5-10 years ago. It's companies recognizing that just good work, or, just showing up and looking professional isn't enough. You really have to have something that makes you different. You have to have something that makes a company excited to work with you, whether that's your personality, whether that's the team you put on a project, whether it's, again, the strategic ideas that you have. I think there's just so much sameness in the environment, in the industry, that like the only way to be successful is making sure that, again, you have that point of view, to making sure that you're showing up in new and engaging ways, and you're not just relying on the standard old solutions from 5 years ago. I think it's just constantly having a ferocious appetite for just wanting to learn, wanting to see what's around the corner, wanting to see the next way might try something or do something. I think that endless curiosity is what some of the best agencies really carry, where it shows up in their work. It shows up in how they, solutionize around things. Because I think if you just stay with the tried and true, the old playbook, like it's just not applicable anymore. I think that the world changes so fast. The platforms we're on change constantly. Client goals change constantly, and you need to be nimble and flexible and always kind of being on edge and not on edge and in front of it, and really finding kind of what that solution needs to be to solve your client issues.
How do you balance trying new things and admitting sometimes that it doesn't always work, like the failure aspect of it, where you have to try new things, especially when there's literally new apps. Like it's not just like, let's try a billboard today. It's like, what's TikTok? Let's try TikTok.
I think levels of experience help you kind of make good judgment calls on when experimentation makes sense or not. There's certainly some projects, whether it be a budget issue, a timing issue, a level of risk issue on whether or not it makes sense to experiment. Most clients, though, have a really big appetite for it. I think they want to see their campaign explored. They want to see new ways of solving problems. Like these clients have been around too. Like they have worked with other agencies. They have had similar problems that they've had to solve in the past. And again, showing up with an outdated playbook or solution is not going to make them excited. It's not going to make them see results. I'm every single client. I always try to find, is there something that we can push just one step further? Is there some new way we can try this approach? Is there some new tool we can explore to make it more efficient or make it different from the last time? Right. I think it's always, again, that ferocious
Mm.
curiosity of just trying to push the creative or the solutioning or the ideas just one step further. I think that's when you really get some of the best creative solutions and best strategic solutions for the clients too.
With the year that has passed, the so far, and all the technology on the horizon, how are you viewing the future of your work, short term and long term?
Yeah. Uh, well, I think it'd be an understatement to say it's been fascinating the last 3 years or so, watching AI unfold and just seeing it impact different industries and seeing the conversation around it change. I think it went from, awe and excitement to, oh my God, we're doomed. And now I think we're back in the swing of, okay, how do we use this to our best ability? And I think that's, a much more positive direction than kind of where it was. Thankfully, creative industry, sure, is 100% impacted just by how it's able to do things, but it's still very much needing to be human led. I think the VP of communications at Apple recently said that AI is riding shotgun, right? And we're all there for the ride. And like, I think that's a great analogy where we really are driving the car, and like, you have to be able to use AI in an assistant shotgun style. You have to know when to tell it to stop and when to kind of take over and really kind of deliver a finished product. I think there's ton of tools out there that are constantly being developed every day. They're interesting to explore. None of them yet have been this world beater. I think there's certainly some tools that are enhancing things. They're like Figma's Make, I think, is super interesting. It's an AI product within Figma that helps you generate UX, UI, and different designs quicker. Sure, I think Photoshop has a lot of built-in tools that are absolutely enhancing and speeding up processes. That's great. But I think where it still fails is where you go into AI, whether it be ChatGPT or another platform, and saying like, create me a logo for a wellness company. Like you're still going to get not the best results. And I think that's where, again, like, it's very easy to assume AI can absolutely replace every creative job there is. But I still think, thankfully, there's very much a need for the human hand to come in there and kind of elevate the work or cross the finish line or bring in the nuance, that you might know from your specific conversations with the client or what the client is looking for.
Well, yeah. And just to tie it with like a nice little bow, I guess, like the point is everyone should engage in art and creativity and curiosity and like constantly be thinking past just what's served to us. And if you can appreciate art, and I mean that with like big umbrella art, then you could crave high quality, more real work than AI slop.
Yeah. I appreciate the conversation. It's always fun to talk about creative and design and the industry and kind of hear what everyone else out there is doing. So I'm glad to be a part of the conversation.
And thank you for listening to The Strick. If you have any thoughts, we'd love to hear them. Comment here, on Instagram or LinkedIn. This is a podcast from Istrico Productions. We'll see you all in 2 weeks.